Afternoon, folks. A wee minute to sort out Facebook, and then I'll be right with you. Good afternoon, folks. It's the two Davies on the 18th of the 1st, 2024, minus a Davy. So once again, folks, you will be treated to this being done in the style of Indie Truck Davy, because the other Davy has once again put on a sick note. So we're just going to change it to the two Davies to one Davy and sick note. The sick note will make the occasional appearance until he's sorted himself out the balm pot. Okay. Anyway, as I say, it's Indie Truck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it's bloody cold. It's clear. It's just on minus. Last night you're down to -9 here. Bloody cold. The frost snow lifted. Anyway, that's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you would like to know what the weather's like where you are, look at your own bloody window. There you go. That starts the rant enough for you. Right, Ackies. Anyway, let's get a wee look and see who's in before I delve into this. We've got wee Bird, James Connolly, Ackies, Wolf Pet. Who else we got? We've got Stephen, Lorraine. We've got Margaret Noakes. I see Gingers is there. Hi, Gingers Giraffe. Good morning there in America. We've got Millie. We've got Eddie. We've got Doug. Thomas. June Walker. Rain Blaze. Eagle Rider 1. Evelyn. Hugh Smith. Julie Brown. Mark Telfer. Hi, Mark. Hi, Andy Scott Bryan. Jim. Stephen again. We've got any Facebook. We've got John Baxter and we've got Julie. Right, so that's us starting to climb. We're up there at 100 mark. So let's get this broadcast underway. Now, what Davey what you say is a day. Let's start with the BBC and their bosses being dragged into Holyrood for quizzing on viewing figures and the Holyrood Culture Committee. Now, Stephen Carson, BBC Director for BBC Scotland, was quizzed on the performance of the new channel set up to allay calls for broadcasting to be default. Now, this is this new Scotland channel on Freeview that sort of is an addendum to BBC One Scotland. Right. Anywho, it would appear that the new channel has got two flagship news programmes. The 7 and the 9 they're called. Anyway, it would appear that the Indie Truck Davy and the two Davies show gets better viewing figures than these people. It would appear that the 7 and the 9 tend only to get up to 200 viewers at a time. So this has been ripped to pissity in Holyrood. The Cuckoos in the Nest show that the channel's failed and there's no appetite for broadcasting to be devolved. Of course, the Scottish Government says it just shows you the same piss Disney washed twice. And that people are not watching BBC Scotland, BBC One Scotland. Why the hell would they watch a new channel? Anyway, it gets to their news coverage. And that's the interesting bit, folks. And this is why I'm bringing this stories to you. The interesting bit is that on the BBC One Scotland, where we get the news at 6:30 and it's 10:30 after the UK wide news, you know, that takes us back to the news where you are. You know, if you don't know what the news where you are or the weather where you are is, look it up. It's a cracking poem. I think David and I have played it on the show at the request of John at TNT. Anyway, BBC won Scotland's 6:30 news programmes and 10:30 news programmes very rarely ever get more than 200,000 viewers out of a population of 5.46 million. It would appear that BBC Scotland as a concept is broke. The people don't trust the BBC, and the people are not watching the BBC. And that's reflected in how many people in Scotland is the part of these islands where the least people pay the TV licence, and where the least people are prosecuted for not paying the TV licence. I believe in 2022, only one person was prosecuted in Scotland. Might be wrong. That might have been 2021. And the courts were shut anyway. Yeah. Anyway, is it time for the BBC to be taken off air in Scotland? Going on these figures, I would say so. Hey, now is sick note checked in yet? Hi Jane, lovely to see you, Lenny. Avril. Anyway, sick note checked in yet? Oh, that looked like sick note back there. No, it wasn't it? That was Independence Live. It would appear sick note's no watching. Right, anyway, the BBC's failing in Scotland, and who's surprised? Who is surprised? I've said this before, I gave a speech, you'll find it in Indie Live, outside the BBC, a couple of years back when me, Graham Bell, David, Mitch, Bill and Ronnie put on a protest outside the BBC about the crap that was coming out. And the speech I gave surprised everybody, because I stated that the BBC was bad for the mental health of the people of Scotland. I think it took the people in the audience that was outside the BBC with me by surprise, as well as the people inside the BBC. And I've explained that to you guys across the end of the truck, Davies viewing and new on the two Davies, why that is that they're bad for our mental health. Because when you get up in the morning, you're told you're shite, everything in your country's shite, and that continues 24 hours a day. Everything in Scotland's shite. Everything's broken. Even though it's performing way better than any part of the UK, any other part of the UK, we're still shite. We invented the modern world, as Churchill has said. There is no other small nation on the planet that has given more to the planet than Scotland. Well, maybe Greece, but probably Scotland. We invented the modern world. We invented modern medicine. We invented modern telecommunications. We invented modern economics. We invented the banking system. We created the first central bank. But when we get up every morning on the BBC, from first thing in the morning till last thing at night, everything in Scotland is shite and the people are shite. And that's why I've said it's bad for your mental health. And that's why David and I have been in the forefront of a campaign saying don't buy your fucking TV licence. Right, let's move on to number 2 subject of the day. And that is the UK COVID inquiry rolls into Scotland to look at how the decisions made by the Scottish Government vary from UK-wide decision making at UK-wide decision making at Westminster, right? Anywho, the Office for National Statistics says Scotland's tougher rules on lockdown and everything else meant that only an additional 0.2% of the Scottish population was saved. Now, I thought 0.2%. I says, that sounds like a lot of people. If the tough decisions that were made by the Scottish Government saved an additional 0.2% of our population, that's fantastic. Because Davy can do the sums. 0.2% of 5.46 million people is 1,092 people that our tougher lockdown rules saved. 1,092. If that meant I had to give up that wee bit more of my freedom to save 1,092 of my fellow citizens, I'm quite happy to do that. Absolutely happy. I'm sorry to hear that, Ginger's at COVID's raging with you. I'm absolutely happy to do that. But I thought to myself, England wasn't as tough as Scotland. Now, England's got 11 times the population of Scotland. So, if England had followed Scotland's lead, they'd have saved an extra 12,012 people. But it would appear that the politicians in Westminster didn't value those 12,012 people's lives. But apparently the UK COVID inquiries rolled into Scotland to scrutinise how we did things when we managed to save 1,092 extra people in our population. And if England had followed suit, they'd have saved 12,012 more of their people. Wow. And they're coming to criticise us. Is it just me? Or should they be coming up here partners in the back and begging us to take control of the next fucking crisis? Wow. Anyway, the inquiry will ask if it was worth it. The inquiry will ask if the tougher regulations in Scotland were worth it. Well, the answer is yes! It saved an extra 1,092 people! 0.2% might not sound like a lot, but when you've got a small population like ours, it's a fucking wiener, people. And the COVID inquiry is going to ask if it was worth it. I think this inquiry is a bit fucked up, people. Is it worth it? Of course it's worth it! And I'd gladly give them the right arm to save more! Fuck's sake. Tell you this, we're going to be done the style in the truck, baby. Those of you on YouTube who have not run across this stuff before, you should have seen me in the cab of a truck. Try hashtag Indie Truck Davy on Facebook. You'll get a scream. Right, let's move on. New poll out on the monarchy. 45% of the people support the monarchy in England. Only 45. Funny how that headline was written, wasn't it? Why wasn't it written that 55% of the people of England oppose the monarchy? Anyway, when it comes to Scotland, these figures dropped to 33%. The poll was carried out by YouGov, and it more or less reflects Savannah Conway's poll, which was done a week earlier. Thanks, Jodie. Anyway, this reflects on the report. David and I spoke about this last year, Lord Ashcroft's report anti-support for the monarchy. And in Lord Ashcroft's report, a poll into the monarchy, it was asked if Scotland would keep the monarchy after independence. And in that particular poll, the Lord Ashcroft, I think it was 55% of people in Scotland said if Scotland was independent, it would become a republic and do away with them. The other interesting thing about this poll was when it came to the poll in Scotland, when they were asking how the people see the monarchy, 38% of people here in Scotland see the monarchy as a purely English institution. Isn't that interesting? So it is. But talk about polls. New poll out by New Kid on the Block, Redfield and Wilton, shows majority of Scots believe a future out with the Union and inside the European Union, is Scotland's best option. Right. Now, the poll was analysed by polling expert Alex Scholes, who was writing on Professor John Curtis's blog post. Now, for those of you who don't know who Professor John Curtis is, he's the top polling expert in the UK, or psephologist, the proper name for it. Okay. Anyway, Alex Scholes says the poll shows the majority of Scots believe Scotland's would have more influence in world politics, geopolitics, out with the Union. The majority of Scots, this is on this Redfield and Wilton poll, and they're unionists, by the way, at the court. The majority of Scots believe wages and economic outcomes would be better out with the Union and within the EU. This Alex Scholes, he concludes his addition to John Curtis's blog by saying that unionism in Scotland is in trouble, because all the way through the poll analysis of the Redfield and Wilton poll that this polling expert Alex Scholes did. Now, Alex Scholes, he works with what's the name of it again? The Centre for Social Sciences at Glasgow University, part of the department that I think John Curtis heads that one up, as you know, part of the Department for Politics and Political Sciences at Glasgow Uni. Anyway, you see, he says unionism is in trouble. Now, why am I telling you about this? Well, it would appear that the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers knows, and it's the reason why the Scottish Parliament and the Devolution settlement is an even greater risk for Labour than what it is for the Tories. Thanks, John. Thanks very much. I haven't been putting these up. Sorry, folks. I'm concentrating on reading. For those of you that didn't know, the Indie Truck Davies thing was much better. It was much more scripted than the two Davies. The two Davies we chat back and forth, you know. Anyway, it would appear that Labour are going to be just as hard on denying Scotland's democracy than and it's according to this polling, they know the game's a bogey. They know the game's a bogey. So, it doesn't matter which cheeky the two arses are in power down that road. They're bought on it. And for good reason. Brexit has shown that England is too wee, too poor, too stupid to stand on its own 2 feet. So it clings on to what's left, the cash cows that are left, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, to subsidise the 55 million people in England who, because of the poor governance they've had, and you can only blame them for that, they voted for it, they'll get shite existences. Alright. And let's move to Wales for a wee bit. An interesting report out in Wales today. Now, I haven't had a chance to read it all, folks, but I thought I'd tell you about it because it was really quite interesting. There's a Chorus Party report being released from the Welsh Senate today, which states that independence is definitely a viable route forward for Wales. Now, remember, this is a cross-party report. Now, in the report, they break it down and why it would be viable and why it would be desirable. But I don't believe at this point in time that Wales is ready to move forward with independence. I actually believe the reason why this cross-party report down that road has fired is just firing a shot across Westminster's bow and looking for more devolution. Now, why do I believe that at this point in time? Well, the conclusion of the report is that the current constitutional arrangement for Wales is not sustainable, and that the current form of devolution, or the current devolution settlement in Wales, is no longer suitable or sustainable for the future. So I think this report is made a shot across Westminster's bow to tell them that the Welsh people, all parties in the Welsh Parliament as well, are unhappy with the devolution settlement, and they better come to the table. Otherwise, independence is a viable option, as agreed by all members of the cross-party committee who wrote the report, and that included, of course, all the political parties in Wales. So it would appear that Wales is gearing up for a fight with Westminster for a new devolution settlement. And then, of course, we've got a fight going on with Westminster and Scotland. There are the constitutional arrangements here and all. All very interesting stuff. I'm going to take this just for a laugh, guys, alright? Alright, Grant, how's things, mate? How's things? I take it the roads are a bit rough, aye? Right, Grant, I'm going to stop you there and tell you you're live on the two Davies show, so I'm going to have to cut you off and fucking phone you back, big man, alright? Keep on trucking, buddy. Catch you later. Sorry, folks, a friend of mine, he's out on the road now. He phones me, mate, a lot to let me know how the conditions are, now that I don't spend that much time out there. You know? Talk about that, I'd like to thank my new employer. It's made my life much easier. Great your local firm across the road. Only 150 years away. Gaffer's a great geezer. So, my life's brilliant. I don't miss being out in the truck that often now. Anyway, let's move on. Where were we? Aye. So that's Wales. Wales are shouting out that they want a new settlement. And I don't think they'll get it. I don't think Westminster's listening to the people of Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland, or England. I said this the other day, I have never seen Western governments so out of sync with their populations, ever. And we see this with the situation in the Middle East. UK citizens, whether it be in Scotland, England, Wales, or Northern Ireland, all oppose striking Yemen. And we all oppose the slaughter in Gaza. Our governments are not listening. What makes anybody think they're going to listen to Wales, Scotland, or Northern Ireland? But it's fine, because England's a tinderbox. Eventually they'll pull the fucking House of Thieves and carpetbaggers down. And I don't think it'll take that long, actually. Right, let's move on. Let's get down that road and see what's been going on down that road, shall we? Shall we poke our feet of our head above the parapet and see what's going on in the House of Thieves and carpetbaggers and the bubble down that road that can't see beyond its arse? Sorry, that should be elbow. Anyway, the Bill passes its third reading in the Commons. That was me confused. I thought it was a second reading. But I seen the press are all calling it a third reading. I thought it was a second reading. It was going to come out of stage then, but out of the Lords, and then back for the third reading. But obviously I'm wrong. Anyway, there was of course, the usual psychodrama in the Tory party where there was going to be a rebellion, which came to absolutely nothing. It did lead to 30p Lee Anderson quit writing off his deputy chair of the party. Unbelievable. Anyway, none of the SNP amendments made it or get voted through. And that's going to cause a real constitutional wrangle here. And there's a reason why it's going to cause a real constitutional wrangle. It's because of Article 19 of the Treaty of Union. If you don't know what Article 19 of the Treaty of Union is, Article 19 of the Treaty of Union is the article which protects and recognises that Scots law is equal to and different from the English legal system, and never the two shall meet, but will always be equal to each other. Now, we've seen that in the prorogation of Parliament case. We've also seen the Supreme Court rise above itself when it came to the constitutional wrangle over who could hold a referendum. But that's for a different story. Anyway, John Cherry points out in the Parliament during the debate that it will impinge on the Court of Session's noble officium, and that the Court of Session probably won't want to have their noble officium imposed on. It's a power grab. It's a power grab in the Scottish legal system, and we could well see a stooshy here. Now, you're going to say, Davy, what is the noble officium? Well, in Scotland, and probably England as well, what happens is the Parliament passes laws, and the legal system then upholds that law, interprets that law, and carries out and ensures the laws are carried out properly. But when it gets to a position where what the Parliament's doing is impinging on the rights of the citizen, then the citizen can make an appeal to the court, and the court can find a remedy. Now, it doesn't have to be a deliberate impingement on the citizen's right. It could well be there's a bill passed without taking into consideration a certain section of the population. Well, the two bills that have recently been passed down that road, which have attempted to impinge on the Scottish Court of Session's noble officium, have been the illegal migration bill and this Rwanda bill. Now, this is going to lead to a right constitutional fucking wrangle. You see, it would distort the inner court of sanctum along there, which exercises the noble officium to be able to protect the rights of asylum seekers in Scotland. Their human rights. It impinges on that. And as I say, this one could lead to a wrangle that you've never seen before, actually. I can see this one getting bounced many, many times. This one could tie the idiots up down that road in the courts forever, which is a wee bonus. Because it just means nobody's getting faced. No refugee in Scotland will ever be put on a flight to Rwanda. Because the Court of Session will exercise its noble officium. The UK government will take it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will say, sorry, can't do nothing. So, the war of legal system is about to start. This one could get interesting. This one could get interesting. Right. This one was funny. I had to bring this one up because it's just funny. It's watching the Labour Party make an arse of themselves. And this time, it's the Shadow Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. And Wes Streeting is having another go at Jeremy Corbyn. He's thinking he learned his lesson from the last time when he called Corbyn senile on the press and then had to make a grovelling apology. Anyway, what's Streeting done this time? Well, he's told the press that Jeremy Corbyn and Nigel Farage are two cheeks of the same arse. One's a racist, one's an anti-racist. Anyway, if Farage is the right cheek, and Corbyn's the left cheek, and Wes Streeting's a centralist, what does that make Wes Streeting? You know where we're going with this one, didn't you? Do you have to say it? So we got Farage on the right, Corbyn on the left, right down the middle is Streeton. I think it's an apt description of the man. A very apt description of the man. Anyway, this leads to West Streeton getting the piss ripped to him in social media. Not just about being the whole, but also they call out Starmer's Labour Party as being closer to Nigel Farage than Jeremy Corbyn was ever. Let's face it, Jeremy Corbyn believes in publicly run public services with no private sector involved. He believes in public ownership. He believes in taxing the rich. He believes in people power as opposed to the power of the state. But anyway, let's have a look at the similarities between Farage and the Labour Party, shall we? We're talking about the far right here, Nigel Farage. Let's have a look at the similarities between his beliefs and Starmer's Labour Party beliefs. This should be funny. Right, both Starmer and Farage back Brexit. Labour and Farage say Labour and Farage both agree that the UK has lost control of its borders. Both Labour and Farage indulge in anti-immigration and anti-refugee rhetoric. Both Labour and Farage, and this one will bring us on to the next bit, both Labour and Farage oppose tax hikes on the rich. Both Labour and Farage believe in more private sector in the NHS. That's what West Streeton's advocating for. And we're not surprised, because West Streeton's is over 165,000 in donations from his pals who are involved in the private healthcare sector. He got an 80,000 donation for a mate who's got shares in a $500 million worth of shares in an American healthcare company, which is sitting on the wing waiting to take over once West Streeton becomes health minister. And of course, both Starmer and Labour, well, I'm not going to say Labour here, I'm going to say Starmer, but both Starmer and Farage support the slaughter in Gaza. You imagine that? Starmer's Labour Party has got so much in common with the far right. And here we have one of them who's claiming to be the centrist, saying that Farage is the right cheek, Corbyn's the left cheek, and he's in the middle. Now, I don't think we've got any room for any more Lord of the Rings jokes, thanks folks. I just thought that was interesting. I had to bring it up. West Streeton has another go at Corbyn. And all that happens is we find out that the guy he's accusing Corbyn of being like is actually the guy who he's like. But West Streeton's just a wee muppet. He's not able to climb the greasy pole himself, so he's hooked onto everybody's coattails to drag him along. He's the Lee Anderson of the Labour Party. But talk about tax hikes on the rich. Labour Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves has now publicly ruled out raising taxes on the rich. She's also said that Labour would cut taxes for the rich to stimulate the economy. Rant coming on, just thought I'd tell you that. One is about to lose the plot. We have had umpteen million years of trickle-down economics and it's failed. And now we have the centrist Labour Party telling us that the way to stimulate the economy is mere trickle-down economics. Don't tax the rich because they stimulate the economy. No, they don't. Evidence shows that what happens with rich people is they buy assets and they stash cash offshore. They stimulate fuck all. They drive up housing costs. They drive up inflation. And their input into the UK is next to nothing. A couple of thousand jobs here and there. Take the newspapers, for example, or the right-wing press is owned offshore. But can you get us? We are back on trickle-down economics. This Labour Party is not a Labour Party that I recognise. It's not a Labour Party you recognise. It's not a Labour Party anybody should be voting for. Even before the English people have voted this shower of shite into government, it's failed. Take 2 fivers, you owe me one. No bother, Jordan, next time I see you. But yet you just don't get, they really are economic illiterates. You want to stimulate the economy? Let's look at Portugal. At the banking crash. You didn't get the money to the bank. You give it to people. They invested directly with infrastructure and things like that. They printed money to improve the country and put their citizens to work. That's how it works. No trickle-down economics. That's fucking failed for 100 odd years. This is the thinking of the 1930s, 1875 or whatever. And now we have a modern 21st century Labour Party telling us the way forward is to follow the same shite they were doing 100 years ago. But only 100 years ago it was the Whigs that were doing it. Now it's the Red Tories that are telling us they're going to do it. Honest to goodness. Yeah. This next one's quite interesting, folks. And that is that a London legal firm has submitted evidence to Scotland Yard's War Crimes Division for investigation. Right. Bindman LLP, which is a huge legal firm in London, have submitted evidence to Scotland Yard's War Crimes Unit of 9 UK citizens having committed war crimes in Gaza and 4 politicians being complicit to war crimes in Gaza. Now, their head of international law at Biden LLP, Tayyab Ali, he carried out the investigation and he interviewed Gazans that had made it back to the UK who had been in there when the conflict kicked off. Well, it's not a conflict, it's a slaughter kicked off. That would probably include people like Humza Yusuf's wife's family. Right? And he's also compiled all the TikTok videos put out by Israeli soldiers who have been putting out war crimes and making a joke at it for the Israeli people we watch. Right, so obviously the guy, this Tayyab Ali, he hasn't named anybody, but he's handed the evidence to Scotland Yard War Crimes Division. I didn't know they had one. But it is interesting. I imagine the 4 politicians that he cited will be the 4 top politicians in the UK. There'll be the Prime Minister, there'll be the Sant, there'll obviously be whoever the Defence Minister is at the moment. And I would imagine the Foreign Secretary as well. So I imagine they would be the four politicians who are being accused of being complicit in war crimes. Why do I say that? Prime Minister, who doesn't back a ceasefire. A Chancellor, who's bankrolling the military aid to Israel to commit genocide. The Foreign Secretary, who backs the genocide. And the Defence Secretary, who is facilitating the transport of weapons to Israel. So I would imagine that's the politicians that have been named in this a dossier on alleged war crimes to the War Crimes Division at Scotland Yard. As I said, I didn't know there was one. But Bindman LLP have asked Scotland Yard to investigate 9 UK citizens so far, UK/Israeli citizens so far, who were called up to serve in the IDF and who are now back here. And obviously the 4 top politicians. What was that, Stephen? You watched the interview with Owen Jones this afternoon? Stick a link in the comments. I haven't seen that. Stick a link in the comments. I haven't seen that. I was reading it, but I was reading about it. All right. Let's move on to the escalation in the Middle East. Where to start? Well, we know that the UK and the US are having a go at the Houthis. That's pissed off the Iranians. So the Iranians have issued a warning to Genocide Joe. And then, of course, we've got 23 different countries have got ministers involved in a legal case to bring Genocide Joe to court. We've got Iran striking Israeli intelligence departments in Iraq and Syria. And it looks like the UK and the US are wanting to escalate the situation in the Middle East to divert their populations away from the fact that Genocide Joe and the Prime Minister here are sanctioning war crimes, are complicit in war crimes, are bankrolling war crimes, are providing weapons to commit war crimes. You're right, Gingers, the US will never be held to account. And neither will be anybody in Westminster. This will not be the first time that Westminster's been complicit in a genocide. Westminster's committed many of them. Bangladesh, the Irish famine, Rwanda, all sorts. You're right, nobody will be held account. But it's interesting that they're willing to sacrifice other people's lives in another part of the planet to divert our attention away from the fact that we're all, thanks to them, complicit in a genocide. I read that, Helen, that the press in Israel aren't telling the people what's actually going on. You know? You're right, Mark. Boer concentration camps. Aye, that's what I thought about. So the escalation in the Middle East, it's dangerous, and it's knowing our name. And it was interesting that in the Houthi and the Iranian statement, they named England and the US. So it would appear that the Iranians are quite aware of the fact that Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland do not approve. They're probably well aware that the English population do not approve. But because of where the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers are, England get named and shamed. No the UK, No Great Britain, specifically England. I thought that was quite interesting in the statement. I really did. But it's definitely not in our name. The First Minister's made it public that it's not in our name. The Welsh First Minister's made it public it's not in his name. The Northern Irish people, they're in a bloody outrage about the whole thing. The English people are up in arms, 250,000 in the streets of London at the weekend there. As I said earlier, I don't think that the Western governments, especially central governments like Westminster, have been so far out of sync with their population ever. It shows you the arrogance and how uppity these fucks have got. And it's time to whip the legs out from under them. It is getting time for pitchforks and torches. But I don't want to get cancelled, so I better make that out as a joke. Obviously, protest is the way we do it. Peaceful protest. Metaphoric pitchforks and torches. That's what's going to be necessary here. That's why they've introduced these draconian laws down that road to stop the people from protesting, because England is very, very quickly becoming a powder keg. Okay. Right, folks, as you know, this is being done in the style Indy Truck Davy, and I only did 45 minutes because that was the length of the break I had in my cab. We're a wee bit earlier than that now, but I'm going to round it up here. Remember, folks, this is an election year. Forget the distractions. Get your eyes back on the prize. And when this election rolls in, whether it be May or November, put your cross in the SNP box. The other thing to do is make sure your voter identification is up to date. Otherwise, you're not getting a vote. And that's exactly what the Tories want. Oh, the other thing I meant to mention was, did I mention that Corbyn's about to start a new political party? And that's got the Labour Party rattled, or could be about to launch a new political party. And that's got the Labour Party rattled. Isn't that interesting? Hey. Right, I say, eyes on the prize, folks. Eyes on the prize. Now, I want to thank you for your kind donations today. Look after your neighbours right now, folks, because it's bloody cold out there and some of the audience can't afford to heat their houses. So keep your eye on them as well as your eyes on the prize, alright? Look after yourselves. I don't know whether sick note's going to be with me on Monday or no. We'll find out come Monday, shall we? Anyway, that's another 2 Davies wrap. The audience figures are fantastic. 225 of you watching right now. That's more than the 7 or the 9 on the BBC. Thanks, guys. Bye for